Hello there, Millennium listeners. It's great to be back here. I've got a great sponsor with us today. We are really focusing in on our solution providers who are really providing great technology for all of the Millennium members. And I've got a good one today. We have a company called Dataminr, real-time AI for event and risk detection. To be talking today about cybersecurity and Dataminr, I'm very happy to welcome to the Millennium Live podcast Dataminr's President of Government, Dana Barnes. Dana, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me today.
Of course. And so, just to kick things off here on the podcast, if you mind telling me a little bit about yourself. I know you have got a rich career history. I know you spent over 12 years at Microsoft. So, give us a little background about you and what possibly drew you to Dataminr.
Yeah, no, happy to do so, Connor. I, as you said, came from Microsoft. I was at Microsoft for a little over 12 years. I actually moved from Microsoft to a company called Palo Alto Networks, a very large
Oh, yeah.
cybersecurity company in that space, probably known well by some of your listeners. Prior to that, those two instances, I actually started my private sector career at IBM, where I supported the federal government, did a lot of work at the Census Bureau, near and dear to my heart. And obviously, before that, I was in the Marine Corps. So that time, very, very special to me. And that gives you a little bit of background. In terms of what drew me to Dataminr, really, it's a combination of what I would say is the people. So amazing people. It's focused on social good programs. It was key for me as well. And their solutions. The company really has an ability to help people. The technology really does good at the individual level and also from a government perspective. So the main product for public sector is First Alert, and it leverages AI to deliver real-time breaking news alerts, helping government agencies make critical decisions in a timely manner. So that drew me to the company.
First of all, that sounds like a great background of yourself. Thanks for your service. And just I want to know on a beginner level about the company itself and what is Dataminr, the real, give us the mission, the real mission, and a little bit of a history on the
Sure.
company, because I know it's recognized as one of the world's leading AI businesses.
When you think about data mining, what you're really thinking about is a company that provides real-time alerts, leveraging artificial intelligence and machine learning. It's tapping into well over 500,000 data sources to do that. And when you kind of go back in the history, it really starts with our CEO, Ted Bailey. That journey started well over a decade ago when Ted was in college. I mean, he studied the history of real-time information technologies while he was there, and he was fascinated by how these technologies worked. You think about the printing press and the telegram and the radio and how they all changed society. That was something he was really interested in, and so he started to focus on other technologies. And then in 2001, if you remember, on the Hudson, excuse me, on 9/11, that tragedy happened. And despite the advances in real-time information technology over the centuries, there were gaps for the people in the towers from having an accurate understanding of what had just happened. And there was no technology really that delivered the critical information that people needed to know so they could get out of the building, save their lives. So, Ted, reinvigorated by that knowledge, really started to look at how can we address this. So he founded Dataminr. He did it back in 2009, and he was really focused on creating the world's first real-time discovery platform that could detect critical, breaking information from real-time public data. So if you think about publicly available data sources today, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, in the old days, people listened to police scanners. Guess what? That's still real-time information. All of these different data sources. At that time, as he was looking at all these different data sources, he realized, hey, we can use these sources to provide those real-time alerts. So since 2009, there's been an explosion of public digital data that is unparalleled, excuse me, in human history, with millions and millions of digital platforms and IoT sensors creating all of these data units. So now when events happen, we actually can see them And what we really focus on is how do we deliver those events. So I don't think even Ted could have imagined back in 2009 that we'd be where we are today. But through his vision and through his work with engineers, we built a platform that takes all of that data and can turn it into real-time alerts, and kind of look at how what's real, what's not real, assess it, and push it to the people that need to know right away.
Yeah. Well, I definitely want to talk about how the platform works in more in depth and what's unique about it. But just hitting on the history, that's a great history. As a New Yorker, I think about that sometimes too, and how people were so in the dark in '01 compared to where we are now. It's crazy. And the fact of, so you mentioned social media, just
Mhm.
probably around '09, just really taking off. So
Yeah.
now that we're inundated with so much information these days, what makes the Dataminr platform unique in the way it works?
Well, there are a lot of different tools out there. You just mentioned that social media, people are pushing out information all the time, and the data comes through different platforms. So you think about video, you think about text, you think about voice and imagery. So I think what makes data miner different is our ability really to be not single modality. And what I mean by single modality is, if you only look at images or if you only look at video, we actually are a multimodal in our approach. We look at all of those things: image, video, sound, text. And, you know, because we've built our platform around that detecting global events, we're able to see a lot more. Like I said before, 500,000 plus data sources and growing. So that's also important. And when you think about the challenges that government has with managing, can they actually handle all that data? No, but we can. Um, with that, we leverage artificial intelligence. I think that helps us be a little bit different as well, because it's tough for a human being to manage all of that data on their own. But when you're leveraging artificial intelligence, you're leveraging machine learning, you can do more. And we do it by spanning natural language understanding. We leverage computer vision, sound and audio detection, anomaly detection, and machine generated data stream. So over the years of research and experimentation, we've learned that in many cases, an event can only be detected accurately as early as possible by using those deep learning that combines all of those modes. And that's the thing that makes us really unique.
That's fascinating. So, Dan, I want to switch gears just a little bit, and just talk about how cybersecurity plays a role in all this, and if you don't mind, you know, talking a little bit how your personal background serves you at Dataminr, specifically in cybersecurity.
Connor, my background at Palo Alto Networks, I think, is key in that, as they're one of the preeminent cybersecurity firms, and I would say I learned more in my time at Palo Alto Networks than I could have learned anywhere else about cybersecurity and all of the different facets of it. It's actually very fascinating. But my time at Microsoft, which you mentioned early on, 12 years there, I can tell you Microsoft was so focused on cybersecurity because in their early years, people thought that their platforms were not secure. So much
Yeah,
so, it got so bad that Bill Gates actually shut the company down for a period of time, for a couple of days, and said, "We're not doing anything. We're not talking to any customers. We're going to solve this security thing right now and move forward with our approach and become the most secure platform on the planet." So when you came to work there, and I came there just shortly after that happened, cybersecurity was first in mind about everything. And we learned a lot about that space. Take it up another level to my time in Palo Alto, and you kind of get this complete understanding of cybersecurity, particularly in this modern world. Start thinking about things like zero trust and those types of buzzwords that I'm sure
oh yeah,
folks have heard over and over. But as you know, the adoption of IoT and what we would call industrial Internet of Things has led to an increasingly interconnected world when we think about the cyber and the physical. And because of that, that's expanded the attack space uh, and excuse me, the attack surface, and it's blurred the once kind of clear lines between cybersecurity and physical security. So how does that manifest itself? So let's think about um, ransomware and how ransomware has been used to actually impact the physical world. It's not just a matter of asking for ransom to access data, but if you can't run your schools and kids can't go to school, that has a real impact on the physical world, not just the cyberspace in that sense. Or if you can't monitor your pipeline that flows oil, we saw this with Colonial Pipeline back, if you remember, just a bit
Right.
ago. How did that impact the East Coast relative to traffic and commerce and all of these physical things? And so, my experience with the cyber world has helped me to understand the bridge between cybersecurity and physical security. And, data miner kind of sits right in the middle of all of that. So that has really helped me understand where we can focus. There's so many things out there that have happened in recent times. Bendy Bear, solar winds. We're going to talk about Colonial Pipeline. So, our role, data miner's role in cybersecurity is evolving just as that space is evolving. So we're continuing to grow. So we have some
Yeah.
technologies that we leverage, but our public sector product, First Alert, really does provide early detection of cyber threats. We engage and pull data from the dark web so we can see what's happening, hacker communities, et cetera. So very, very important as we continue to improve in that space and alert in that area. So I
Yeah.
would say experience with Palo Alto was great, and Microsoft as well. And I've been able to leverage the two.
I bet. And that is fascinating, Dana. And just to think about all that you have to think about on a daily basis is I don't know, it's kind of hard to believe, but there's just so much going on in this space, specifically cybersecurity. We got to think about it all the time. So what what types of organizations can truly benefit and are currently benefiting
Yeah.
from Dataminr? I know like there's so many sectors that Dataminr covers. So, what are the top ones?
Well, I mean, I would say, first and foremost in my space, the public sector space, organizations that are dealing with disasters, natural, think about FEMA in the US, dealing with natural
Mm,
disasters on a regular basis. We just had Hurricane Ian, and
yeah.
those things, they really can benefit from leveraging our technology. You also will see in cases where we have non-governmental organizations, the UN as an example, and some of the things that they do around famine and other things globally. Those are the type of organizations that really can benefit school systems. That is a case where those school systems can benefit. All you gotta do is look at the news. You see some of the things that are happening in the world's unfortunate. Uvalde, Sandy Hook. I could go on and on.
Yeah.
And from that perspective, those school systems and law enforcement that are trying to protect some of those young kids in school, there's value there. And then the commercial side. I mean, we do have a commercial business. That's not my specialty, but we do have a commercial side, and we see news organizations leveraging the technology. First to know the story is always important, and corporations that are trying to manage brand awareness. So I would say there are a whole host of customers that can benefit uh, from our capability that we bring to the table.
You can honestly cover so much ground with when it comes to cybersecurity. There is everybody could be affected, and the fact is you mentioned First Alert, and I want to know, how do customers of data miners operationalize and most effectively utilize the
Mhm.
First Alert platform in order to mitigate and manage risks? Because I would trust, I think anybody could trust data miner in helping their lives become easier, but how do they really take action and manage these risks on a daily basis?
It's a partnership between us and the customers. I think it's an opportunity for those customers to look at discovery. So, what do you need to know? How soon do you need to know it? real-time event detection has to be tailored. So, what FEMA is looking for in terms of disasters, natural disasters, might be different than what a Ministry of Foreign Affairs is looking for in terms of maybe protecting diplomats overseas and knowing what's going on. So, understanding what data is important, understanding when you need to know those things is key. You drive a partnership. How do you contextualize that data so that it's quickly accessible from a decision making perspective? These are things that the customers. This is where we work with them and drive that. Who you collaborate with. How do you? What are the tools that enable your team to use this data? In some cases, we integrate into common operating picture systems so that everything is in a single screen so that they can make these decisions and what they want to do. At the end of the day, it comes down to use cases and how you do it. So we see a lot of activity in security operations centers or SOCs. On the cyber side of the house, you may see a lot of activity in the CIO shop with their CISO and their cyber teams to just get a better picture of what's happening out there in the market. So you really want to operationalize it in terms of what do you do today to operate? How does information flow, and how can we leverage that information more consistently without having to go through 1,000 sources? And speed is the name of the game, right? So how do you do this
Yeah,
quickly?
yeah, absolutely. Especially, when it comes to communication with some of these bigger organizations that directly impact the public sector.
Yep.
So let's talk about the AI platform and how it's used for social good. I think you might have mentioned this before when you started, Dana, but just how is Dataminr's AI platform being used for social good?
Well, I mean, we really partner with a lot of different organizations that are out there. I just mentioned the UN as an example, as they execute some of their humanitarian assistance missions. There are several non-governmental organizations that are out there that can benefit from using the tool to help people in need. Um, I think the key is, again, how do you use something for good? I'll give you an example, and I won't mention the name of the organization, but
Yeah, of
I'll give you
course.
a use case. Um, you know, as the U.S. was pulling out of Afghanistan, one of the organizations that we worked with was trying to help young women and children also get out of Afghanistan, get to the airport and get out. And that particular NGO had First Alert, and it was part of a partnership that we have with them. And they were able to literally in real time help women and children as they were moving through the streets uh, there, avoid those key checkpoints where the people were being taken and not allowed to move, so they could maneuver through the city and actually get to the airport in real time. So that vehicles are moving, and all of a sudden, warning, hey, if you as you continue on now, this particular road, which was safe, is not safe anymore. That's a
Wow.
huge value when you think about social good and what it can do for people. So, during Hurricane Ian, the ability to know, where stores are shutting down, where fuel is available or not available, which roads are open and not open. As you can imagine, that can be an incredibly horrifying time. You're trying to navigate a hurricane, get out of town, or what may be. So our work with some of these NGOs really help facilitate communication and safety for people as they're going through some of these challenging times.
Well, that's fascinating. That really is. I've learned so much from just listening to you in this short time, Dana. Before I let you go, I want to know if there's anything else you might want to discuss, or really, as we like to do on these episodes, kind of just talk about the future and where you see Dataminr going as a company, but also in the cybersecurity world where it's going. I'd love to hear
Yeah.
your thoughts.
Oh, thanks, Connor. I mean, as we go forward, this is, and I mentioned it earlier, kind of the convergence of the physical and the cybersecurity worlds. They're becoming more and more intertwined, and I think you'll see us as a company continue to evolve so that we can support those areas. You know, really focusing on critical infrastructure. You will see us continue to focus heavily on social good and supporting organizations that really are excelling in those spaces. I think you'll see us continue to add more data sources and be able to look at rich content to provide alerting to governments and organizations that need it. And you'll see us focus on AI for good. You know, one of the things I always talk about is, artificial intelligence is yeah, there are a lot of different opinions about it out there in the world. You know, the robots are going to take over the world, but the reality is artificial intelligence can do a lot of good as long as we, the people who manage it and use it, focus on using it for good. And I think you'll see us continue to strive for leveraging AI for good, both in the cyber realm from a cybersecurity perspective, as well as in the physical security space. So, that's one of our corporate values. We really want to focus on that. But we're going to continue to grow and add more capability year after year as we learn. Good companies grow by learning, and that's one of the things we do really well.
That's and again, it is fascinating to hear all the just amazing work being done at Dataminr. That it's really does. It sounds like it's a solution like no other. So talking about real-time insights, cybersecurity, I really want to thank Dana Barnes for joining the Millennium Live podcast today, president of government there at Dataminr. Thanks so much for telling us all about it.
Thank you for having me, Connor.